Joining us now is former British Marine Pen Farthing, who only a moment ago, just a moment ago, had the Taliban outside his door. Pen, very good to speak to you again this week. Could you just tell us a bit about what happened?
Well, I can definitely say my heart's still going, that's for sure. They turned up just now. We have a security camera outside. We've always had one. Where we could watch on the security monitor, and they gathered. There was probably about 10, 15 of them, a couple of cars. They're on walkie-talkies. So we've made our procedure for when they come in. We had that ready. But thankfully, just as we thought they were going to come in, they all went into a frenzy of activity, on their walkie-talkies, jumped in their cars and sped off. So I'm assuming they're looking for some people. They obviously thought maybe this was a house, or they're trying to find out exactly where in this district. So they never came in. And all of us in the office there, we all just breathed a collective sigh of relief.
What's the procedure you mentioned that you have for when the Taliban arrive? Can you tell us what that is?
It's going to be myself and my office manager. We're going to greet them because they have promised that NGOs will obviously be left alone. So literally that is our only defence. So obviously I'm a foreigner, a horigi as they say here. So obviously I'll be straight out front, say this is an NGO. We've got nothing against Taliban. Come in, feel free to have a look around if you want. But obviously your spokesperson is assured that we will be untouched. So that's our only defence.
Pen, honestly, I mean, my stomach's turning as I'm listening to you, because that must be such a frightening situation. A group of Taliban turn up at your door. We know that there has been this United Nations report, a secret report, I think it was leaked to the New York Times, which said that Taliban are going door to door. I mean, and you have to reason with them and explain to them that their PR people have said the leaders have said, no, NGOs must be left alone. I mean, how confident are you that you can make sure that they don't come back, that you are safe? You're British, you're a former Royal Marine, but you have, of course, Afghan staff there, don't you? How frightened are you?
Yep, I do. I'm trying not to be frightened, to be brutally honest. We've had other NGOs here. We're in a big WhatsApp group of all the NGOs that are still left here in Kabul, so we're not the first to be visited. They followed the same procedure that I've just talked about, and so their premises were searched, and then the Taliban left them alone. And a couple have actually now been asked to register with the Taliban to discuss, moving forward with their projects. So, at the moment, we're going to go down that defence. It is our only defence.
So your
there's no other choice.
Your understanding is from both that WhatsApp group of NGOs, and I'm assuming other things that you've heard anecdotally, is that so far NGOs have been safe. You haven't heard otherwise.
No, at the moment, yeah, they have been safe. They've been searched. A few NGOs have actually been searched a couple of times, but they're not continuing their programs. They're just holding fire. Obviously, they're trying to get their Western staff out, which you've shown those photos and that just now in the video of the airport. It is absolute carnage down there. There is no way that we are going to be able to evacuate all of the people who need to leave Afghanistan. And I was absolutely appalled to hear in your segment earlier on that some of our three key people are still on holiday. You've got British troops. The British government has sent British troops into harm's way in Afghanistan, and their senior leaders are on holiday. I'm sorry, they need to go right now, and you need to have people put in place who can actually be there for our soldiers who are going to do an absolutely amazing job on the ground here. Well, they need everybody back home working for them. This is absolutely disgusting.
You probably heard as well in that conversation earlier, Pen, that one of the biggest stories around in Britain today is that the Foreign Secretary didn't make a phone call on Friday, which may have enabled some translators to get out. I stress may have. What is your feeling about that story?
They knew, everybody knew, between America and the UK, that we were going to be sending troops in. So the second that decision was made, everybody in government who has a responsibility should have been on a plane from their holidays going home. It's absolutely unacceptable. If a British troop dies out here, which is a very likely possibility, you have thousands of Afghans, desperate Afghans, trying to get into that airport. I couldn't get in there now if I wanted to try. I don't know if somebody does offer me and my team passage to England. I've got to figure out how I get 71 Afghans, including young children and families, through that to get into the airport. This is an absolute humanitarian disaster of nothing we've ever seen before. Right now, this meeting of NATO, it shouldn't have been today. We've been here in this situation for 5 days now. I have no idea what the West is playing at. I'm absolutely shocked and appalled. We're not going to get a second chance at this, but when the last plane leaves here, no one's coming back to Afghanistan. That's it. Whoever gets left behind gets left behind.
Pen, my heart is racing.
shocked.
I mean, people will be shocked at what you're saying and chilled by what you're saying. I heard your interview earlier this week on this programme, actually, where you were describing how hard it was for your wife to leave the country. Now, I think that was on Wednesday, and she'd been caught up at the crush at Kabul airport. What has happened? What has happened since?
So once she got away from there, we got her to a safe house. She couldn't make it all the way back to where we are here at Nowzad. So we waited a day and then we tried again, and we actually got her into the airport in the very early hours of yesterday morning before the thousands of people turned up. And then thankfully now, so I think she's about an hour away from landing in Oslo. But you're just showing the picture now of that was her aircraft as it took off from Afghanistan.
It doesn't look full.
It's empty. It's absolutely. How many people could we have got on that flight to get out? This is a disaster. And if people are on holiday who are making decisions, sack them right now, today, and get people in who can actually get this sorted. We don't get a second chance. People will be left behind. We're playing with people's lives. Innocent people, they didn't ask for this. We have absolutely deserted that. I'm shocked and appalled.
Pen,
if people don't get angry.
You've shared that picture of the plane that your wife was on. I know your wife is Norwegian and she was going back to Norway, but was she able to get an explanation for why that plane wasn't packed with people trying to get out?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've come up with a very simple explanation. Obviously, the aircraft flight pattern is full, so an aircraft comes in, and right behind it is another aircraft, and Kabul airport is incredibly small. It's not designed for, obviously, the large cargo flights that are now coming in. So the aircraft can only stay on the ground for a certain amount of time. It's got to go. So the problem is not with the flights. The problem is people cannot get in. Yeah. I've got an expat here, another British guy. He's tried 3 times now to get into that airport. He can't get in. He's absolutely, he's in shock. He's like, how do I get out of here? We've got families. There's Canadians. There's like 300 Canadian families that a friend of mine's working with. They can't get into the airport. They've got all their Canadian documents. They can't get in to get out.
And meanwhile, planes are taking off empty, practically empty, because they cannot get to the aircraft.
They've got to allow the next one in.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
I think we both had almost multiple different emotional reactions to this conversation. It's almost unbelievable to even talk to someone who had the Taliban at their door just moments ago. But also it's worth just to say that when I spoke to you on Wednesday, we were talking about your wife and hoping that she found her way out. And she has done, as Eva explained. So I just want to say how pleased I am for you
thank you.
that has happened.
I haven't got around to thinking about that yet, to be honest. I'll have a moment later, I think.
This isn't a stupid question. You were saying just then that you went essentially in the dead of night, I think, to Kabul airport and got your wife on that flight to Norway. Did it make a difference to go at that time of day?
It did, and we were very small numbers. So, that's not going to stay long. What we've got to remember here, and I hope people back home in Britain and people in America are listening to this, that as we get nearer to that last flight, the desperation of these innocent Afghans is only going to get worse. And you saw those photos on day one. Day one of this evacuation, 2 Afghan guys held onto the side of an aircraft in their desperate attempt to get out of here. What the heck is going to happen on the last day when you have probably 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 Afghans who know that on that tarmac is the last couple of aircraft to leave Afghanistan? Now, British troops, American troops are probably going to end up having to make some absolutely horrendous decisions to stop being overrun by a crowd of Afghans. This is an absolute disaster. And unless the West does something, and they do something positively today, we are going to see some shocking photos and video coming from Kabul airport.
What could that be, though? What could they do today?
Say again, sorry?
What could they do today to change things or improve things?
Right now, I mean, they've got to look at their security. They say, I've listened to the press conference yesterday from the White House saying it was a little bit of congestion outside the airport. That is what they're reporting it as. I don't call 3,000 or 4,000 desperate people congestion. I call that a crisis. So they need to wake up to this. So until the powers to be, the grown-ups there, are actually taking charge of the situation, we're not going to get out of it. The Taliban are in charge in Afghanistan now, whether we like it or not. Yeah. That's it. We lost. We've got to wake up to that fact, and we've got to help the Afghan people now, because otherwise, for the rest of our lives, we're going to have their lives on our conscience, and that's unbearable to think about.
Pen, I know that you are staying where you are because you are concerned about the safety of your 71 staff. And I was lucky enough when I was in Afghanistan back in 2014 to visit your sanctuary there at Nowzad. And, people watching your interview will be able to hear the animals in the background.
That's the... And you had your photo taken just there.
That's right. That's where I was filming. Yeah. The work that you're doing there is remarkable.
Unbelievable.
And of course, you will be concerned for the human beings that you are responsible for. But there are animals there as well, aren't there? I mean, when I was there were hundreds of cats. You deal with strays, you deal with animals who are injured. We reported on a dog, Whitey, who was looked after by street kids in Kabul, and his back legs or her back legs were crushed by a vehicle. You rescued that animal. You know the importance of the connection between the military guys and girls and the animals that they have contact with. What's going to happen to the animals at Nowzad?
Great question.
At the moment, obviously, our public face, we need to get our staff out because they actually need permission, to leave here to obviously then enter the United Kingdom. We're working on a secondary plan at the same time to get our animals out. That involves a cargo aircraft. And so I've got an amazing team of people back home, and we've got our amazing Nowzad family supporters. I mean, I've been blown away by the love and compassion that people have shown to help our staff and to help the animals. So we're working on a plan B for the animals. We're going to take as many of them as we possibly can. We've named it Operation Ark. But the thing that makes it just absolutely breaking my heart, I mean, you can see this building behind me now. We just raised around $30,000 to actually build a big extension, isolation, quarantine kennels, a brand new surgical theatre, clinic, and a laboratory. We've had this open for 5 days. We are literally now... We're going to walk away from it. Everything is in this compound will be left here. We can't take it with us. All the years we've spent building this place up, and we will be walking out. Animal welfare in Afghanistan has just gone back to the day that we started Nowzad, which was nothing. There was no animal welfare.
Pen, I'll tell you what I do want to say, though, Pen, is you are an absolutely amazing human being. and I've been thinking about you constantly. It's hard not to get emotional when you talk about him, isn't it? I've been thinking about you constantly since Wednesday, and on Wednesday your wife hadn't got out of the country, and you opened Afghanistan's first animal sanctuary to look after injured and stray animals. You just explained that you raised money to build an operating theatre for those animals.
You fought in Helmand.
You fought in 2006 in Helmand. You saw people around you die in Helmand, and now you're staying behind to help protect the 71 staff that you have at your animal sanctuary. There aren't many better people in the world than you, Pen. I think it is fair to say.
I really appreciate those comments, thoughts, and thank you. But there are a lot of people here, and there's a few more people down I know at Kabul Airport who are doing amazing work. Like I said, trying to get Canadian families out at the moment. And I know that a lot of other people, if they'd been here in my shoes, would have done exactly the same thing. It's not about just trying to do the right thing. It's about people's lives.
Yeah.
We have no choice. You've got to stand up for the people who don't have a voice like we do. I can eventually wave my red passport, and get over the wall if I have to. They spent 22 years teaching me to do that. So I'm not worried about that. But, we've got to make a difference. And the people back home, our supporters, they've been just as brave as I have, because they've been there, giving up. I've got one supporter who's actually given up her job. She was told to get to work, and she said, well, I can't. I've got to keep working at doing this. And they said, well, if you don't come in, you've not got a job. So she went, well, this is more important. So there's so many people who are dedicating so much time to this. It's unbelievable. So it's blown me away, absolutely blown away. We just need to make it work now.
Great to talk to you, Pen. It really is. Thank you so much. We're so pleased your wife has got out, and you don't know what the future holds now.
So am I.
Of course, we hope that you're safe and your staff are safe as well. Thank you, Pen.
And we hope that your words galvanise the British government. I know that they're doing what they can. We need a little bit more, don't we, in order to process those people who are outside the airport and get them in.